Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. So it's actually a rest day for myself and Gary today, but I actually went to the gym earlier to record a couple of glute exercises for you because I thought it'd be fun to sit down and have a chat about the different go-to glute exercises I do in my own routine that I found most effective over time. So recently enough I actually changed up my own split and I have 2 days on and 1 day off now instead. I used to do push-pull legs and then take a rest, but I've been finding having a rest day every 2 days to be a lot more effective from a recovery perspective, so I've been enjoying that. It did take some time to get used to be honest, because I'm just so used to being in the gym nearly every day, but on my rest days I still do a bit of cardio, so I'm still there basically every day of the week, even if it's just for 30 or 40 minutes to do cardio. So I think that kind of keeps me a little bit more sane, because if you've been watching me a while you know I just absolutely love training and I love being at the gym. I'm not sure if you noticed or not, but my lashes are just about bald at the moment. I'm getting them done tomorrow morning, so don't judge. I did start my holiday shopping as well, and I have an athlete haul that is planned, so I'm thinking of bringing you through some of my shopping that I got online and in town for my holiday clothes, if that's something you'd like to see. I have loads of new bikinis and I have more like summer dresses and just kind of spring summer clothes on the way, so if that's something you'd like to see, or if you'd like me to bring you through my new pieces, then just let me know and I can definitely do a haul on those as well. But anyway, as you saw, I just had my yogurt and dark chocolate, my first meal of the day, and I had my cup of tea, so I feel like I'm ready to sit down now and have a chat with you all about glutes. So as I said, I went to the gym earlier and recorded the exercises for you. So first things first, you'll see me here on the treadmill. So I'd always do maybe a 10 or 15 minute light walk before I go into a leg session, because I just like to get my heart rate up and get the blood flowing before I go into my compound movements. Also, just so you know guys, as I said, I did record this on a rest day, so the movements that you'll see me doing today obviously aren't my working sets. I'd always be going much heavier than the demonstrations I'm doing in this video, but as I said, I just wanted to record them so that you have the idea and you get the form of each movement as well. So once my heart rate is up and I feel like the blood is flowing in my legs, I go into my activation exercises. So I actually had a bad hip injury in the past. Probably been about 2 or 3 years now since it has come at me, but I had a really aggressive hip injury that I was out for 9 months with, so I never ever skip my activation exercises before I train because of this. And obviously there's other advantages to doing activation before you go into your actual workout as well, just to get the blood flowing in the area. Practice mind muscle connection as well before you train, so I like to be able to think about the glutes before I actually go into my compound movements, because mind muscle connection is really important to practice, not only with your glutes but with any body part. I think it's always good to activate the muscles, think about them, and get the blood flowing in any area before you go into your intense workout. I'd normally spend up to about 10 minutes doing activation exercises. I wouldn't do it to the point where I'd be tiring myself out or actually starting to sweat, because obviously you want to keep as much energy as you can for your main compound movements and not tire yourself out before you even start your workout. So once I have my activation done and I'm warmed up on the treadmill as well, I will go into my workout. And one movement I absolutely love starting my workouts with is a sumo deadlift, so that's what you'll see me doing in this clip. With any compound movement I always work my way up in the weight. I'd never go into my heaviest set even after warming up, because I just don't really trust going into a heavy set straight away. Some people like going straight into heavy sets after doing activation, but personally I prefer working my way up. I think it might just be something to do with my past hip injury. I just have trust issues, so I'd always work my way up instead. Obviously this movement would work your hamstrings, glutes and quads, but I find it really engages your glutes if you're using mind muscle connection, if you're giving a squeeze at the top of the movement, and if you focus on really exploding up from the bottom of the movement and squeezing at the top. I think it's an excellent movement and you should definitely include it in your workouts if you're trying to grow your glutes. Okay, so next up you will see me doing a paused Romanian deadlift. I absolutely love this movement, and it's only as of recently that I started adding the pause into the end of this, and I have definitely been feeling it the day after. So paused RDLs are definitely more of a hamstring focused movement, but your glutes are definitely incorporated as well. Some people like to give a really good squeeze at the top of this movement, and I normally would, as you will see me doing in an exercise later in this, but with really heavy compounds like this I sometimes avoid giving too much of a squeeze at the top, simply because it aggravates aggravates my hip injury. Instead, I focus on keeping constant tension in my glutes from the top to the bottom of the movement, and I leave out the pause when the load is getting really heavy. But if you're someone that obviously doesn't have any past hip injuries, then definitely do incorporate the pause and squeeze at the top, because you're just going to push more blood into the muscle group and work it harder. Okay, next up you will see me doing a glute kickback. So I feel for a while there was a lot of controversy around glute kickbacks and glute training. I feel like I saw a lot of videos on the internet saying, oh, don't do this with a glute kickback and then do this instead with like a sumo deadlift. But in my opinion, I think if you incorporate both isolation and compound movements, you're going to get the best of both worlds. I don't think you should be completely cutting out isolation movements just because a compound might work as well. So word of advice, if you do see any extreme advice on the internet, just take it with a pinch of salt, because people like having extreme opinions to get attention. And I feel like glute kickbacks are a really good movement for isolating the glutes and getting a really good pump during your workout as well. One really important thing when you are doing glute kickbacks is to make sure you're not just swinging your legs and not focusing on the squeeze at the top or throughout the movement as well. I'd often see people just like swinging through the glute kickbacks and not actually focusing on the movement at all, and it's then when those exercises become slightly less effective. So always focus on slowing down the movement, trying to hold the top even just for a second, and really using mind muscle connection from the top to the bottom of your glute kickbacks, because it will make a huge difference at the end of your workout. Next up you will see me doing the best glute exercise in my opinion, hip thrusts. I'm only using like 10 kilos on either side of the bar in this. Obviously I go a lot heavier at when I'm actually doing my working sets, because this is a movement that you can go heavy in, and you should be going as heavy as you can once you have your form correct, of course. So when I'm doing hip thrusts, I often try point my toes out slightly into a sumo stance, because I feel anything with a sumo stance you can feel a little bit more in your glutes. It wouldn't be like completely wide stance sumo, but I'd have regular stance but my feet pointing out slightly just to activate the glutes a little bit more, especially at the top of the movement when you're squeezing. Okay, and last but not least, you will see me doing a rope pull through on the cable machine. So this is another movement that does focus quite a lot on the hamstrings, but if you're getting a really good squeeze at the top of this movement, your glutes will be on fire, and I absolutely love ending my workouts with this movement. So as I said earlier, with the paused RDLs, because the load is often quite heavy on that, I would avoid doing too much of a squeeze because I don't want to aggravate my hips too much. Whereas with the rope pull throughs, you obviously go a little bit lighter because of the setup, and I always give a really good squeeze at the top of this movement, even if it makes my ass look really bad. And if you can see my dimples of cellulite, it's fine, because I'm working my glutes, and that's what you need to do to be able to grow. Obviously with this movement and with all the other kind of lower body movements, you should have constant tension on your glutes as well. You should be focusing on them, focus on contracting them from the top to the bottom of the movement, and give that extra squeeze at the top whenever you can, because it will add up at the end of the week and at the end of the month, and then eventually at the end of the year when you're looking at your progress. Notice when I'm doing this movement as well that I do have a slightly sumo stance on this too. I try and incorporate this. If I am trying to focus more on my glutes and my hamstrings, then I'll give a little bit of a sumo stance on anything I'm really doing, even leg presses too, because as I said, it just gives you extra room for that squeeze on the top, which makes a huge difference. But I hope you found this video helpful, guys. If you like this style video, or if you have any ideas for me, then just let me know in the comment section and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.